And now, welcome to the Town of Darien Sewer Commission special meeting agenda for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023. Calling the meeting to order at, say, 4:33 p.m. In room 206 of Town Hall. First, we'll run through quickly the first item on the agenda, then we'll move to the item for which we have a member of the public here. So first item on the agenda is reviewing and approving the meeting minutes from July 11th.
I didn't see any.
I didn't see any. I'll make
Yeah.
a motion to approve as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved, first by Susan, second by Reese.
Ed has.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a change to
Did you?
No,
catch
no
that?
change. Update on attendance.
Yeah.
I had Penny check on Peter. He's on his way.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
cool.
Okay.
So we're going to
Okay,
take
it's all
the
here.
agenda out of order and jump to item 8C under the superintendent's report, the lateral location for 223 Long Neck Point Road.
We're gonna dig tomorrow.
Oh, so we haven't found it yet?
We should hold a meeting there.
Yeah, we should all just can we all stand around?
And
Stand
watch.
around, that's what we want. A photo of the whole
Will the
commission.
digging be live streamed?
No live screen.
Okay.
I hope it will be uneventful, no matter what we find.
So no matter what, either we find it, yay, or we don't find it and we put the tap in.
Right.
Tomorrow?
We've met with
It's a big day.
Mr. Brown, Mrs. Sutton's general contractor,
Yeah.
project manager on the site. We've introduced our contractor to her contractor. Everybody's on board. The equipment has been delivered. Excavation starts tomorrow. If we don't find a T, shortly thereafter, we will schedule the tap. The tapping sleeve and valve has been ordered and is in the possession of our vendor who does that work.
So can I selfishly ask that you send us an email with the results of the activity tomorrow?
Maybe a photo.
Yeah, I would love a
Oh, I'd
photo.
like a
If we have to
photo.
do the tap, I would love a photo.
Yeah,
of
I'd
the
like to
tap.
see
Yeah.
that. That'd be cool.
Nothing selfish about it, happily.
Okay.
So it's like a.
To anticipate that tap tomorrow, it's not going to be tomorrow.
Oh.
It's, the way we scheduled it was the amount of digging that we're going to be doing. If we don't find it, we'll go to the place it's supposed to be and we'll backfill and plate. And then he's scheduled to either be here Wednesday or Thursday of this
Oh,
week.
that's cool.
His schedule got kind of messed up with the weather too, so we're trying to work
Keep
with
us in
him,
the loop.
but we're not going to backfill the hole.
Yeah,
We'll just
rain,
move the
too.
plate and we'll be able to tap right away and then take the line right into the property.
And you're expecting it this week, to do it this week?
I am anticipating this week.
Okay.
I wish I could say it's definitely going to be this
No,
week,
no.
but the idea was to follow the digging with the tapping. We just haven't gotten a confirmed date from the tapping guy
Okay.
yet. And so I don't want to say that he's definitely going to be here this week, but we're going to push him to
Okay.
get him here this week.
And
I don't
then-
want to leave it open. I just don't want to leave that hole open that long.
Sure.
Is there another house up the road that's also gonna need this, one of those 4 or 5 that are?
I think they're going to come down and if we have to tap, they want to come down and see how it's done.
Cool, and that'd be
If I-
good, get some
There'll be a
speaking
crowd there.
Correctly.
institutional
Yeah, well,
knowledge.
you know.
Could
we
do
beat
for
them
a
to the
lemonade
tap. That's-
stand.
I wish it was the other way around. I'd love to watch them do it.
Yeah.
You know. We are gonna have equipment out there in case it breaks, in case we hit something while we're digging, and, knock on wood, none of that happens. We'll have the vac truck out there and equipment to shut down so that we can repair it if we have to. That's the worst case scenario.
Don't stand too close.
Don't
Yeah,
stay-
right?
yes. Yes, don't wear your good clothes.
Yeah, wear glasses and.
All right.
Okay.
Why? What's the big deal?
From the man who knows. That you don't want to be anywhere near
I
that.
haven't actually done the work, but I feel like it's a fairly simple one, but, you know. Who
What could
knows?
go wrong,
What
right?
could
Is
go
that what you
wrong?
said?
Yeah.
Oh, let's not say that.
I'll let you know.
That sounds like.
We'll see you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Okay,
Take
see you
care.
tomorrow. Thank
Good
you,
luck,
Sarah.
Leslie.
Good luck.
And Susan.
All right, jumping back in order, we're gonna hit on item number 3, another draft, perhaps the final one, or maybe we still tweak it, of process and protocols for new applications and
Making sure there's
sewer
an
users
appropriate
and
review.
increase, or proposing
Yeah.
increase in flow.
I think I highlighted what I changed at your request.
Looks good.
I mean, if we like this, can we vote this in now as policy? This doesn't need a public hearing right now.
Yeah, it's administrative policy, I think, is the way I look at
Do you-
it, unless you're,
Well, you're gonna have, I listed the public hearing so you could see what's gonna be included. There is one piece of this
third-party
policy,
review.
the very last one, the cost.
yeah.
That's going to be part of
The
the
regulations.
public hearing. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, you can do it together, or you can approve it now and just make the
That
public
part-
hearing the cost part of it.
Yeah, I'd like to, you know, the sooner the better, Craig.
Well,
What do you
aren't we
think?
having a public hearing next month?
We could wait.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if we're, you know, an extended period of time, I'd say,
That's
I would
cool.
agree with you, but a month, I think, is reasonable
Yep.
to just wait
Digest it.
and,
Sure.
So first question, are we comfortable with the language presented on
I believe so.
item 3, page 1 of 1?
Yeah, I am.
And the only other thing I was thinking was up in bullet point 2, we talk about development applications, but that might miss.
Use
uh,
change, use
a-
change?
Yeah, use change, a straight to zoning permit, building permit kind of application where, you know, there's no change in square footage, no change to the site.
But it might be the
Yeah,
3750.
I keep saying the liquor store to laundromat.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's
You know?
exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah.
So I think I would, you tell me.
Okay. Doesn't planning and zoning have to approve use changes too? I'm not an expert, I'm going.
Yes.
Some are as of right, though.
Yeah, but they still come in.
Yeah, but
What if you change
they'll
all
come into the
development
zoning department For a
applications?
zoning permit, but they won't necessarily go to the planning and zoning commission for
Right.
approval.
It might
No,
be
all
staff.
development applications or use changes.
Yeah, or significant, or,
Use changes.
Yeah.
Or
We
use
can
changes.
decide if they're significant. The significant makes it hard because then they get to say, well, it wasn't significant.
Yeah, well, we define 3750 at the bottom, but,
So you like after the
improvements.
EPC, or
yeah, after the parens, or use
use
changes.
changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I will make those change for the next meeting.
Yeah, I like that, Craig.
It'll be part of the, if you make it part of the public hearing, here's my thing, you can vote on it now and say with that, those two changes, those two words added included, you vote to have it approved as a policy.
Yep.
With the contingent that the public hearing approves the cost piece. That's up to the chairman, but that's be my recommendation, to move it
I
along.
like dispensing of things when we're ready to dispense of things, so I would entertain a motion to just approve this as modified, with the understanding we're gonna codify one of the 5 bullet points in a month.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
And I would second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, we're good to go. Item number 4, 6 Fairmead potential sewer connection discussion and action on use of Clyde. That's with a couple of exhibits tonight
This
as
is
well.
interesting. This
This
is
is
really interesting.
You want to give us the
I'll give you the
overview?
background. 6 Fairmead Road is not connected to the sewer. We know that. We don't know why they were not a part of the project in the first place when the project was being built. We have found no evidence that they were assessed nor provided with a lateral. So, don't understand why that is. Right now, they want to put an addition on their house. When they put an addition on their house, that necessarily will eat up some of their reserve septic area. And I asked the engineer representing the owner to write a letter to the sewer commission, which they have, it's in your package. And what I handed out tonight is the larger sheet just shows you.
Oh, sure.
That's our as-built drawing, and it shows you that there's no lateral going to house number 6, but that would be useful for you. And then I also print the smaller map is just the area. So
Yeah.
all of Fairmead Road is a low-pressure sewer. It all discharges to Old Kings Highway South, which is a gravity sewer.
South or north? North.
You can see that number 6 is in blue. It's very close to the end of the run, only a couple houses away from the intersection. So
It's also interesting because you say the house next door, which I assume is number 4, lot 34-24A, says house connected to sewer. Oh, I don't see the lateral.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. And I went into the lateral file, and it is a pump sewer.
Hey, Peter,
It's all right.
welcome. Now we have
Special
the
day, special
capability to adjourn.
We're gonna be
Otherwise,
stuck
we'd
here
be
all
here
night.
forever.
So that is correct, and I did look in the lateral file, and it looks like in the 80s, they were connected. So I'm assuming that they ran a lateral pipe up the street and discharged into Old Kings Highway South, because the Fairmead sewer didn't exist until 2000.
Sure.
It's having north.
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 It's Old Kings Highway
Thank you.
North, I
That's right.
think.
Old Kings Highway North, not south.
So is there an easement over the properties or something, or?
Well,
don't
if they
know?
came down the road, they wouldn't
I
necessarily.
went down the road.
True.
We got an easement,
Town road.
but
Do we know where that goes, or?
no.
What road is that?
The lateral file shows that it was,
Fairmead.
the lateral file
It's just over
shows that the
highway
sewer,
on,
where the
Old
sewer
Kings
goes
Highway
to the end of the property, but there was no low-pressure sewer there to connect to, so
North.
it must have continued up the road.
What year was this built?
Our project,
Yeah.
sometime in the 2000s, when I showed up in April of 2000, this project had not been finished yet.
What year did you start?
That's when 2000.
Oh, okay, so it was that year after kind of thing?
Yes, so after 2000, this was built. I didn't see a date on the as-built, which surprised me.
Yeah.
Probably 2003-ish, 2002.
So
when they actually
what was
finished.
the assessment that we charged to the benefiting property owners?
13 grandish.
It's a good deal.
Was a good deal.
That I can figure out.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
And that's actually one of the questions that we have for you. Going to go with the connection fee, going to go with the assessment.
Was it fully paid for? I mean, is this like that Mansfield sewer, the sort of that we had to
Yeah.
go back through with Wilder Gleason and figure out who owed what?
No, it's going to be much easier than that. Right now, all they want to know is, would you be okay? They have a septic system, it's functioning. They don't want to connect right now. They want to get approval for their addition.
Were there reserved
Yeah.
connection?
They want to get approval for their addition, so in case it ever is necessary,
So
They can connect to the sewer.
an official action by the sewer commission saying that we would accept the connection terms to be determined.
Yeah, but if they
That
don't
works right
agree
now.
with the terms, then it's null and void. If they're gonna say it's too much money 10 years from now and they actually need it,
Or the new owner says that.
yeah,
we're not,
I think. the
We didn't
terms
agree
need
to
be
this.
Settled now.
So you think you need to
Yeah.
get the price?
Yeah.
And
But-
Yes,
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
it's fine. It's really fine, because what would happen in a case like that is they can go back to the health department, and the health department will tell them, okay, fix your septic system, and if their septic system is $60,000 to fix, they will come here on bended knee.
So to put in one of those new biofiltration
So we'll
systems
leave the
that
They could do
financial-
take
that.
up less
we'll
room.
Leave the
Right.
financial incentive to what the financial incentive will do.
Well, isn't that sort of fixed based on the cost of the system and they're adding one more use to that? Is that numerator and denominator
So,
already?
Now we're back to the philosophical question, what would we do?
No, but why would their number to hook up change? Isn't that a fixed in time cost of the system divided by another user connection to it?
It is, it's an interesting
Yeah.
question.
Well, what did they
They're
pay
working
for it?
with
yeah,
it.
that, getting the deal of 30 years ago in today's dollars.
Yeah, it might
doesn't
be
make
a
sense
deal.
to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's a deal, but, and on the other hand, the project's already been paid off.
Did they pay money
That's,
here?
so it's like
for
301
13,000?
Mansfield where we dealt
Yeah,
with
they
this.
did.
There was no lateral, we want to hook up. What's the
Right.
cost?
And they would pay for everything.
Yeah, and then we would have a fee based on what we would have a connection fee
Penny
anyway.
Appositas.
Thank you, Penny.
Thank you, Penny.
And the connection fee might go up between now and
Yeah.
then. So
So
let's
let's-
just
okay.
remain silent, I would think. Is someone willing to make a motion?
I will.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we allow this in future if they
Reese.
Okay.
reach a point where they need it or want it.
Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second it. I'll
Okay.
second it.
Susan Cameron.
Further discussion, the motion is to official determination of the sewer commission that a connection will be allowed on number 6 Fairmead Road with terms and costs. They would have to pay for all hard costs, of course, on all their own costs, and then the connection fee to be determined at the later date.
And that would include the tapping and sleeving that
Or
we're,
they have their.
Digging, tapping, sleeving,
repave
cop.
the road, you know, whatever.
whatever it is.
That's all it.
And we should be old hands.
Cookies for the neighbors, whatever.
Thank you.
Not hearing any further discussion, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor, raise your hand. All right, unanimous.
Cool. That's interesting.
Number 5, okay, so this is a little longer discussion.
Do I remember him?
Um,
I do.
Yeah.
So what would be the date of our next meeting at which we would likely schedule a public hearing if we choose to do so tonight?
The 5th of September?
5th, September 5th.
September 5th is the day after Labor Day.
So 4 weeks from now, we may wish to hold a public hearing. And that public hearing may include 3 items to be discussed on number 6, but one of those is the setting of the sewer user fee. So Ed has provided us with a lot of data on the annual budget, the water use, where we would be if we left things alone, where we would be if we increase the user fee in any one of 8 different ways, 7 different ways. Ed, do you want to give us an overview of what
Sure.
we're looking at?
Sure. We'll start with my favorite, the graph on the front.
Graph.
Spreadsheet, I'm sorry.
Spreadsheet, yeah, okay. Got the spreadsheet.
All engineers love spreadsheets.
I love spreadsheets.
Who doesn't?
And like I normally do, I give you an update on the FY23 at closure. The last numbers I was able to pull were August 3rd to make sure this was as updated as I can get. And we did all the closeouts August 1st. So you'll see the payments to the city of Stamford, 2.82 million. The number below that is our total expenditures. And you'll see it compared to our original budget to the right. It's actually almost 75,000 under. So
You spent 75,000 less,
yes, I did.
and you collected 125 more than spent.
Total revenues, yep. So that's gonna go to the reserve.
Okay. Healthy accounting, and good job budget, and good job executing.
I think we had a good year, you know. As we all know, Mother Nature plays a role with a lot of our expenses, especially the trigger, which is the percentage to the city of Stamford. So that's key. So we had a good year.
Just to say for anybody watching, 2/3 of the sewer user fee goes to the city of Stamford to treat the wastewater.
So going down in that black box, I give you the operating and capital expenses for next year. You see our original budget's up a little bit on operating. That's has to do with a lot of the capital work that we're doing. You'll see the capital expenses at 249,000. The revenues that are included, of course, are, I give it to you on the back of that page. You'll see I break down the other revenues.
Where else we might get money besides the sewer user fee?
Yes.
Clean
Yeah,
water
so
stuff?
It's the
No
third
permits.
grouping down, says
Yeah.
budget FY24. The first one's 0, because that's what I'm trying to determine.
Yeah.
The rest of the numbers are projections. And that's where you get that 123.
So you have the fiscal year '24 projection in the revenue accounts, and then and just for comparison's sake, the fiscal year '23 actual.
And your connection fees don't increase that much, even though we've increased those. You don't project in the budget 24 over 23, that much of an increase in connection fees.
No,
Might be.
you know what, it's, we're starting off slow, and
Fair
I
enough.
tell you, I'd prefer to be a little bit low, but what's gonna really change is when the, new construction starts to come on board,
Right.
particularly, the ones on Heights Road that are going, it's just starting now, so,
Oh, because they'll pay additional sewer user fees and generate more.
Yeah.
so that's gonna be a big step.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's all occupied, so it's all gonna come on,
Yep.
or CO'd rather.
Is the residential's all occupied too?
Well, I meent,
When it's built.
it's all certificate, they all have COs and everything.
Oh, okay.
Water meters all hooked up, so it's gonna come online.
So Ed, did we do it on a percentage increase from the 4177 of last year to the 4403, 4,403? It looks like maybe a 2.5%, 3%. I'm just spitballing. I haven't done any math.
You gotta help me, where are you looking?
The budget this year versus the budget next year projected doesn't seem to be that much of an increase at all. It's really tight. Is it like 2.5?
You're
Yeah, what
talking
was
the
your-
top?
4177,
The original
360.
budget was 4177,
360,
and this, your
40.
projected budget is
4403.
4403.
I'm gonna guess 2.5, 2.7, so I'm just,
That was, I
Yeah,
forget
but
what
it's,
it was.
where it's showing up is in the capital.
yeah.
That
you're actually-
249 is substantial.
Yeah, you're doing a lot more stuff.
That's
We
interesting.
we are, and.
Is it
we're-
5.4?
I'll do it again.
No.
4403.
Is it that much?
4177.
Yeah, it could be.
Divided by
It could be.
4177.
It could be 200 grand on, yeah, okay.
Okay. So that takes us to the rate comparison. Now, I think it's
Yeah.
important
Wow.
to tell you that I've set this up as I'd like this to look at it, kind of look at the percentage increase. Okay, what's a 0.5%? What's 1%? What's one? I kind of walk my way to even fives or close to it where I could, just to give you a feel.
You didn't want to split any pennies.
I d- No,
Pennies aren't worth much anymore.
Well, the copper's worth more than a penny.
I don't have much more copper in them anymore.
It's true.
I think they asked that we use even numbers or something like that. So that's what I've given you across, but look, let's go down below to where the water use information, so you can see any of the changes.
Okay.
It looks like we've picked up 10 new accounts from last year,
Okay.
and our water use has increased by about 3%.
And that fluctuates year to year quite a bit, right?
Yeah,
When I
you'll
looked at
see that on the-
chart.
on
Thank
the-
you for putting that on. Yeah.
On the
So-
breakdown, that's gonna be helpful when you start looking at that.
But to say another way, if we made no changes to the rate, we would theoretically be collecting 3.3% more just by virtue of what we're calculating it on has gone up by 3.3%.
I think that's fair to say that.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that we would be taking $23,000 out of the reserve.
Yeah, that's the
But it
cap.
doesn't, yeah, but it doesn't cover the
Yeah,
additional
yeah, yeah,
expense.
3.3
Yeah.
isn't 5.4.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I'm glad it shows that.
He's lobbying.
Because that makes sense,
He's
right?
pre-lobbying.
Yes, I am.
He
Well,
is.
I'm
Unloading the
countering your
argument.
pre-lobbying with saying, well, wait a minute, though. When you look at the graph, it looks
Am I
like
the
we
one
have
that
some
wants
work
spend
to
money?
to make up,
Huh?
right?
Am I the one that doesn't want to spend someone else's money? But anyway, not spend,
Pull
collect.
ourselves back up in line.
Aren't we better stewards than a lot of people out there, Craig?
Look, we're going to have a robust discussion, and I
So-
am excited to hear all sides.
Now, I'm gonna
And I only get one vote.
remind you where these numbers come from, okay? These are projections based on the for residential, for the 5 months projected over the year, okay? What we don't have is, you're not looking at, commercial you are, you're looking at 12 months of their readings straight up. They're predominantly, the big users, if you will. But residential, because of the number of houses, it has a greater impact. So understand that I have 5 months, I'm projecting it over 12. That's where I get that final
But
number.
those are fixed, because we're using the numbers we have.
Yeah.
But
in
it's,
the spreadsheet.
but what it's not though is the actual flow going to Stamford. That is measured.
Yeah, okay.
So.
So if we get a lot of rain,
Yep.
and we end up
Yeah,
sending a
I-
lot of water to Stamford, then we still gotta pay for that water.
Correct.
And if we get a lot of rain, people's sprinklers might not be on as much to wastewater that may have flowed into the bill mistakenly, even with the 5 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, the user, the amount that has been used is now fixed as of June 30th. Like, those are the numbers we're going,
Yeah.
that are basing the new bills on. But yeah.
Backward look, right.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
All right, okay. So unless there's any other questions on that sheet, I will take you to before we jump into my breakdown and presentation of the rates, let's take it to the graph.
Love the
Yeah,
graph.
I love the
Okay.
graph.
4 of 6, page 5, 4 of 6.
And show you that for the last 2 years, that the revenue has been above our expenses, slightly.
Reserve balance is stable,
The reserve balance now has leveled out and it actually has
tweaked up a little.
tweaked up a little bit. That made me happy. I think that's important. I think it leveling off and kind of keeping it steady. I don't think we've ever had the final discussion on where we should be with our reserve balance.
We've tried.
We've tried. I don't think we're gonna have it tonight either, but, when we start talking about, bonding and interest rates later, there may, that discussion may help.
Yeah.
Understand that, cash in hand right now is a whole lot cheaper than paying for interest later, but that's a choice that you folks will have to make.
Does the reserve fund, can you put that in an interest-bearing account and try and,
I was talking about that just about an hour ago,
okay.
with Kate, on
Because, I mean,
how do we
CDs
do
are-
that to generate more revenue for ourselves to either
Lower rates.
pay back
Yeah.
or use that money to do a project, instead of borrowing and, hey, we have a project here that we can fit to that.
But it
That
may
money.
be, and I don't know what we're required to do, that we could get more money in a CD and borrow at a lower rate municipally. Maybe, I'm only,
I can't answer the borrowing stuff, but I happen to agree with you, I think
Right.
there are better rates for.
$45,000 after a year,
You gotta
even
right,
a regular.
it matters. You could almost be
On your-
90 grand.
On your reserves, are you comfortable with that amount that's there? I mean,
Am I comfortable?
if you were, ended up at the same place next year, at the end of next year,
Yeah.
and you were sitting here, would you still be comfortable? Or are you comfortable?
Peter, I'm always a little nervous.
Pardon me?
I'm always a little bit nervous about where our reserve is. Now, if you ask me,
Paranoia is a job performance criteria.
what's
But it-
that?
Paranoia is part of your job
Yeah,
performance.
But,
It
Ed,
does come with that, but if you look at 17 and 18, I was very comfortable at 4 million.
All right.
But then again, it was there to catch us when we fell.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if you had another $125,000 in it, you'd feel that much less anxiety, right?
Yeah, but look, I'm gonna go back, so here we go, we're starting our obvious lot.
you started it much earlier. We've started
You know,
stuff.
The town does not hold a percentage of their expected expenditures in abeyance. The Board of Ed does not hold a percentage of their expected expenditures in abeyance. I mean, the thing that should give everybody peace is that, we're AAA bonded, we have a taxpayer base, we can raise money for things that need to happen. To me, you have to have enough in there to have adequate free cash flow, in the months between when the fiscal year ends and you start collecting money again. And you have to have enough in there to deal with significant contingencies, emergencies. But after that, it's money rotting in a bank account. It's not ours, it's the users.
So are you saying we should take more advantage of the money that's there and generate more revenue from it? if
I
it's
love
sitting
that
there?
idea.
I love that
idea.
idea.
Okay. I don't
Yeah.
disagree with that.
But I mean,
No.
Yeah.
but in terms of the way the system is running, I mean, aside from some catastrophe that we can't foresee, I mean, you're satisfied pretty much with what's going on, right?
I am. I think we've taken some good strides.
Yeah.
We're gonna take some bigger strides in the next 15 months. I think by the end of next year, I'm hopeful that we have finished all 3 phases or pretty darn close to it. We would have videoed half of our system and have found defects and corrected them before they became catastrophes. So I think that's
I
important.
mean, what I'm trying to get a feel for is, you know, I'm trying to edge toward what the rate change, if any, should be. You know, that's sort of, you know, the numbers are the numbers.
That's the question on the table.
But, you know, it's like the numbers on an airplane's performance from the manual, and, you know, but does it perform that way? You know?
We have a big unknown, and it's really not Mother Nature. Our big unknown right now is the city of Stamford.
Yeah.
Their budget is 16 million each year.
Yeah.
We own a portion of that. So
When do they finalize their next budget?
it's finalized already. They haven't closed out 23 yet, supposedly. I'll get that at the end of October.
So when you budget the amount we have to pay the city of Stamford, is that with some knowledge of where they're headed with their budget?
It is. I do some, I do a little modeling on their usage, on their expenditures, on where they've, you know, overestimated or had extra money in their budgets
Yeah.
over the years, not just one.
So you're upping our payments to them by 120.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually thought that really wasn't necessary, but I hedged my bet a little bit.
Well, they're extending the sewer, that's all gonna come onto their budget, right?
That's all them. So it's the operating of the treatment plant.
Is the main thing.
Maintenance, the guys,
A proportion of the pump stations are ours too, like a third.
But they are doing plant rehab as we speak.
They are. The capital stuff is locked in. They borrowed that money already. I know what I'm gonna, it's the operating ones where they have, you know, sewer connections in their operating, something that we don't pay for, they eliminate. You know, those are all numbers that I take out of their budget to see and project what we should be paying over a month. Now, come October, if the number comes in crooked and I'm behind, I will change our budget number of payments to make it go higher if it's needed or lower, depending on that. So that we're not in the hole further by not catching up.
at the end of the year, we have to make up a huge.
That's correct.
shortfall.
And that's where Jen and I talk about taking some money out of the reserve at the end of the year to make up the difference if I've overspent my budget on that
Yeah.
line item.
You've
And
been
that's where I tighten my belt on other aspects of the budget, so I'm not eating the whole thing.
It sure seems like you're aiming for the bullseye and hitting it every year, though, within a real small.
And
That's,
it's
not luck.
It's not easy, and it keeps you up at night, and, you know, that's where, when you ask me, am I comfortable where I am with the reserve,
Yeah.
sometimes yes, sometimes no.
the hard part with
If you
the,
ask me which time of the day, is it
Well-
sunny outside, I'm pretty comfortable. If
Well,
it's
as
pouring
long as
rain
it-
out there, not so
As long
much.
as it's sometimes yes, sometimes no, that's normal, right?
Yeah.
But if it's always the other way, you know, well,
I mean, part of one of the ways to look at this is $3.5 million 10 years ago is not, you need 5 million today. So it's not a linear chart in that what you can buy with that is completely different 10 years later.
Although I think some of that was intentionally started by Bob Steger and continued when we didn't know how the negotiations.
With Stanford.
with
Oh, that
Stanford
was the
were gonna go.
buffer?
And we had another huge legal
Mhm.
battle going at the
Hurdle.
time. And so I think we were intentionally buffering the reserve account,
I mean,
anticipating some.
I see
expenditures.
this like as some catastrophe. I see it much more not legal and unknown. But what if a pump station needed to be
Yeah.
immediately dealt with? Something happened.
And to me, $2 million is a lot of running room.
Yeah, it's
to
some.
then, in the meantime, get to a special appropriation if for some reason it needed to be bigger than that quicker.
Mm.
And then you would try and make that up the following year with fees?
If there was some catastrophe that went beyond $2 million in expenses, I would assume we would be immediately starting the conversation of a special appropriation and we'd be going through the process to get money immediately.
Enough money
And
needed.
probably bond it, not hit the user fees immediately with it.
Yeah, it would come around the following year.
Yeah, yeah.
As in the user's fee, that principal interest would need to be started to get paid off.
It would be a good start if you could take that near $2 million and just put it in some 5%-ish type return thing.
Yeah, or some, yeah,
Something.
yeah.
Something.
It'd be
On the back of
massive.
this sheet here,
Yeah.
at the very bottom,
Which number is that?
this will be 1 of 6, so page 2 of 6.
Okay, 2 of 6, got it.
Very bottom, it says reserve accounts.
Yep,
Okay, and
Yep.
that's where you get the 2 million total. If I add up all the money that we have
one more page.
set, so that we could spend, that's what I have left.
So you've got $1 million that's sort of just the fund balance that could be immediately put somewhere to use, like making a return.
It's there, and there's the sewer designated for capital equipment's there too, and that's pump station related too, if we ever needed it.
So that would be more, that would be more like short-term CDs, 6 month rather than a year, and the other one could be a year or a little more.
I'm not a banking expert, but if you say so, sure.
I
That would be
would-
something I talked to Jennifer and Kate
Yeah,
about,
I-
was I would know.
I took on the presidency of the real estate board one year, and they had not this kind of balance, but balances that were doing nothing. To me, that's like, drove me nuts, so.
I've got some balances too.
Well, especially now, with
Yeah,
the interest
the
rate
rates have
going
come back up.
When you
Now-
used to get 1% or a
Well,
half
it didn't
percent on your
matter.
money, it was
Yeah,
like.
it was around
here.
there.
And I'm not gonna say I know where that money is sitting right now, but we do have an interest and lien account.
Okay.
Revenue account, just above that in the group of 3, the third group, I'm sorry, the very bottom.
Yeah, yeah.
$42,000 that year, last year,
Yeah, yeah.
so we're
They're
always in
doing
that
something
range.
with it. Yeah.
I mean, I've got one savings account that I think's paying 2.5%, just to, you don't have to do anything or lock yourself in, or.
So I
I'm
think
sure
it
you
just
could
so
find-
happens what we're
The
paying
immediate
interest on the bonds.
And you may just not get your interest. I'm not sure they penalize you to get out of a CD.
Some, no, some of them do.
Oh, they penalize you beyond not giving you your interest?
Not
So
sure.
I'm
I mean, you just
noticing
forego the interest if you're desperate.
under general overhead, top group, there seems to be a
Big increase?
Yeah, big increase.
Okay, in that
Talk to me.
cost center is the transfer to other accounts, which is the capital money. That's why I said that 249,000
Oh, yeah.
number
Good.
in
Yeah.
that black box is in that cost center. That's why it went up as much as it did.
Oh, okay, you were transferring money to
Yeah,
the general.
I have to show it in the operating, and then they transfer it into the capital accounts.
Got it. Oh, got it. Okay.
And that includes pump station, root control, principal
Okay.
interest on the bonds, the yearly TV, CCTV and camera,
Yeah.
the cleaning, I'm sorry, the pipes. So that's all in that number.
Okay.
So the 45,000 projected is interest? And it says interest and liens.
Yeah.
Is that bonding interest, basically? Is that interest for borrowing money, bonds? Or?
That's the money the
That's
town
revenue.
made on the sewer money.
Oh, got it, got it. So it already.
That's revenue.
Yeah, so it is, it
Revenue.
is already making money. Then. Okay.
So the
Okay.
12 months, July 1 ending June 30, a month ago, were relatively dry in terms of INI. We're at 39% of flow. Your estimate on INI inflow. Sorry, I'm on page 5 or 6.
Yeah.
And that's your point, that we get a wet year, that goes up, we're still sending water to Sanford, we still gotta pay for it.
Yep.
That's a roll of the dice on weather.
You can see the water use data I gave, I went back as far as I had it,
Mhm.
just to show you the
Goes up and
increases,
down.
decreases, it fluctuates. We're still hanging around, 580, 590, 600 as an average, I think, if you pull the average on that.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you look back at the last, really 18 through 24, it's all pretty consistent.
Yeah. The INI impacts, I showed you what we sent to the city of Stanford.
That's amazing.
I showed you what our water use was based on the 5 months projected 12, so be careful that you look at that, but it's still a good indicator of where we have INI influence.
Percentages, Stanford.
Are we seeing any decrease in the INI from like the, on the major fixes we were able to do from the first blush with the cameras and,
I'm not gonna say I saw them, I hope they're in here.
okay.
But we're gonna see them after this next phase.
It is interesting, we were, as a portion of our total flow to Stanford, 39% is on the lower side of numbers that we have seen in the last few years. So
Absolutely.
part of it could have been
Not as-
dry
not
luck,
as
part
much
of it
rain,
could have been
yeah.
the fact that we have made
Yeah.
a few.
And I
We'd
can
have to level that with rain events.
Yeah.
I can expand that next year if you want to see those
See it
numbers
over
too
time.
over the years.
Make us
I
feel
I think
good.
by next year, it'd be very interesting to see because, we're actually in the student program starting
And,
now.
Yearly numbers.
And not all rain events would cause the I&I issues. It would be more continued long-term rain or flash floods or.
Enough to kind of get
Yeah,
the ground
yeah.
wet for long periods of time.
So it wouldn't be total rain, it would be events-ish or plus, I don't know.
Wet
wets.
spring.
Yeah.
It's what rain is going to require people to be using their
Right,
sump pumps
right.
and putting it illegally into the sanitary sewer.
Yeah.
Or
Cross connections.
What aggravates the credit issues we have in our
Right.
system.
Groundwater up to.
So next group down, so we do the payments to the city of Stanford over the last 10 years, the percentages, you see they go up and they go down. Highest being 88, the lowest being 56. But recently you see it looks like it's starting to come down from FY '22 or from '20. Also, if you look next to it, I showed you the percentage of our flows.
Yeah,
And you see after FY '20, those are starting to come down.
yeah. 58.
I like the trend. I hope it
Yes.
stays.
Yes.
But
Yes and yes.
I did throw up I put in there something in parentheses. If you go up to the third one, it said we got a flow percentage of 12%. That was one of the years, the only year I've been here anyway, that we ended up paying 12.5 because of the contract.
We were under,
Oh.
we were over.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that year.
And the contract is now 12, not 12.
It is 12 now, correct.
So we have to go under 12 before we're being penalized under 12 in a way.
Yeah.
We're paying 12 anyway.
Yeah.
Or we have a negotiating leg to stand.
The next part, the clean water grant, you folks did see this last year, just a refresher. The Arcadis costs are there, $689,000. Clean water fund grant was 55% of that. Town share, of course, is under that, $310,000. Our balance right now is about $1,000. We already got a reimbursement from Clean Water Fund of $326,000 in September of '22. And I'll submit, once we're almost done, I'll submit for the final balance of about $30,000. Right? No, I'm sorry, $50,000 to close it out. So we're getting close to me doing that.
Okay. And then that, moving forward into the future, if we do more studies in more areas, we have the ability to apply for additional CWF.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we already started talking about that with Arcadis.
Yes.
Just let's start planning this now. Let's talk about bonding. I got this email from Jennifer today. It's going to give you a little insight to expenses coming based on the bond that we have already approved at 2.3 million, which is good because I have those numbers in my budget for the last couple of years. Interest-only payments of 26,000. Next year, it'll go up to 75 because we're not going to borrow any more money or sell any more bonds until after that. Our first full, as you see, our first full debt service payment of the total amount would be in FY '25.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that question.
And it gets you up to 75,000. Now, there's another balance, another portion I'm going to have to bond in the next couple of months for the next phase.
Another million.
It's like a 1.3 million. It'll push us up to the full total of the resolution approved.
2.3?
Then going forward, it's going to be 90,000 a year principal and interest to pay that down. These are 20-year bonds.
Oh, perfect.
I thought this was a good email. Jennifer actually got this to me quite quickly. I'm sorry, here, no, thanks.
It's funny, you and I were, yeah.
And,
Nothing to worry about. That is all taken care of.
so, this is where I get to add, that's additional cost going forward.
Yeah,
So,
and, yeah.
you have an idea what it is now. I was a little nervous.
So
I
we
thought
can
it was a little bit
avoid-
more.
We can avoid that increase for this year, but it's coming.
Yeah, so if you want to play, keep it flat for a little bit, next year is going to be steep. If
Yeah.
you want to play gradual.
Or get ahead of
And I
it.
think you folks have done that the last couple of years. Have
Let's
looked at
also
it.
put that into context, $75,000 a year, if it ends up being on the higher side of that estimate, is 1.7% of 4.4 million. So it's an increase, certainly, that we have to cover,
Yeah.
but it's coverable.
And we're going to be paying it for 20 years.
Yeah.
So my comment and question to Kate was, hey, what if we make our payments, but we also build up our reserve enough so we go, hey, we'd like to pay this off or pay
What's
it
the,
down.
what's the rate though?
She goes, unfortunately, you can't do that.
Oh, it's locked in,
Bonds,
it's locked
bond
in,
But
market,
you-
investors
there are
in
other-
Bonds want money
other-
every year.
no prepayment.
Yeah, so there's other things that you could possibly do, and that's a discussion I need to have with Jennifer.
Yeah.
Interesting,
Kate was kind enough to kind of walk me through some of it, but
So these can't be called early?
yeah.
they have a 7-year call on this one.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you can. Huh.
I just don't think we'll be ready in 7
Oh,
years.
okay.
But
Yeah.
her comment was, what if there's an opportunity
Yeah,
where
rates are so cheap.
they're cheaper?
Yeah.
And you want to
Yeah, yeah.
reallocate the bonding or something like that.
Do we know what that rate is to project that 90,000-ish?
I tried to get that, but unfortunately I missed Jennifer before she left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I know it's complicated.
it's two something, I think.
Really?
2 or 3, yeah, I had it projected on my budget thing as 2.5. I think that's when Jennifer and I spoke, and that was over a year ago.
That's great.
So it could be different, I'm not sure.
See, that would be my only argument for having the reserve fund, Craig. If cost of funds goes way up, we have funds at zero. Self-fund
Self-fund.
is better than mass at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever might happen. The risk reward would be dead money in the bank that makes
But I think we're
small.
far, I mean, to me, it seems like we're far away from that. I mean,
Well,
who knows what
with-
happens
I'm
in the
only,
future,
I'm
but
only, yeah.
But, 1.7% increase for
With
17
these
years.
kind of bonds, isn't the incentive to the bond buyer to accept a lower rate because they are not taxible, or the income's not
Yeah,
taxable?
and-
Yeah,
and
we're-
risk is low.
We're not borrowing commercial rates from the bank, we're getting much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AAA rating, you should be getting the best.
Municipal bonds, yeah.
So these kind of bonds appeal to a certain,
And
Group.
and you
They want
could,
fixed income.
Yeah.
you could make the argument that that money we're borrowing at that rate, if it goes to reducing our I&I, is absolute bang for the buck, beyond belief.
right.
We might actually be able to make more money on
Right.
CDs than we are on
Yes, yeah, it's upside down. I know. You can't legally do that, though.
Yeah.
I found out.
So essentially, there's some possibility of arbitrage.
You can't.
All right,
Flip
so
Okay.
let me just make sure I have something right. If we have a reduction in I&I, we're still collecting the same amount of sewer usage fees, but we're paying less to Stanford, correct?
We have a reduction in I&I. We're collecting the same,
We should be collecting the same sewer usage fees because they're using the same water. We're just sending less to Stanford because less is being introduced to the system by extraneous forces.
So the cost of our $2.6 million to Stanford is going to get reduced if the amount of I&I is reduced and the meters reflect that. So our expenses are less, but we still collected the same amount of revenue because it's based on the actual domestic water use.
So we should make money there.
Yeah, if we continue to dial that down, it should start paying off.
Yeah.
and I don't think we've turned the dial.
We haven't really even started to turn the dial. I mean,
We haven't really, I mean, we fixed Old Kings Highway South, but
Yeah, but
that was a big structural issue.
there were like 2 or 3 things that we found and we fixed.
Corbin.
Yeah, of
one,
course.
Yeah, you know.
We shut off that pipe that was
Yeah.
We're gonna
connected to the,
line-
right by Stony Brook. I think that was a big
We're
one.
gonna be lining 3 miles of pipe, rehabbing 200 manholes,
Right. Yeah.
putting 60 waterproof lids in. I mean.
It should make a difference.
Like I tell them, it's gonna sound like Tupperware when I open up those things, it's gonna be so tight. That's the whole idea. But to your point, if those scenarios, yes, it would be less. But I don't think we've turned the dial enough to see a reduction in I because I couldn't tell you that.
It's a different thought of looking at the budget, right? Constantly, you're looking at these line items like, oh, I should make a conservative assumption here, should make a conservative assumption here, I should make a conservative assumption. That's one area where we could legitimately make, a positive assumption.
Yeah.
If it's gonna move in a direction, it's gonna move in.
I just wanted to make sure I was
Yeah.
thinking it right, that's all.
That'd be cool to see.
Now, there's a back of that page, page 6 of 6. Just listed our rehab projects that we've started and completed, are about to start after we receive bids, and what's on the horizon.
What's, you probably have this on the agenda, I'm sorry, but, so I'll try to.
That's okay, we can talk about it, we could hop over it on the superintendent's report.
Yeah.
As
What do you think, if your final negotiations and contract execution goes well with the apparent low bidder, what do you think their mobilization date is?
they wanted to start yesterday.
Okay.
Good.
They're ready to go, they have people ready, we just got the approval from Arcadis to sign off. There were some things that weren't complete inside the bid, and I don't mean complete as in not there, but we had some questions about, we ironed them out.
Okay.
So they recommend that we award it to them. The company that we are awarding it to is In Situ Form. I have that on the update.
Am I gonna have to sign something?
There's a possibility you may have to. I will let you know.
Feeling up to it.
Um,
Vacation.
I don't know, my wrist is a little.
So their bid was 1.623 million. Arcadis has a contract with us, the planning and design, the bid, construction admin, and updates to our drawings, and a part-time engineer. Now, I will tell you that part-time engineer for Old Kings Highway South, we came under bid.
Okay.
All right, we did a lot of work at the same time as the camera work, so we used the same person.
Oh, great.
Basically cut the time almost in half.
Okay.
All right, and they were good to work with us that way.
Good. It's nice.
Everything I've been hearing is that they're treating us very fairly, and
How
it's
did-
good. It's a good working relationship.
It is.
How did that bid come out based on the spitball beforehand? We think it's going to be, were you like in the game? Was it really close?
If you go back to the
Yeah, I don't
I&I report,
Yeah.
Yep.
the SSES report,
Yeah.
they projected 1.9 million.
So it's under.
If you add the two together, construction
1.623,
engineering,
260.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, very close.
Wow.
By 7,000
That was,
or something. What is that?
Wow.
It's ridiculous. 17,000.
Wow.
that's good.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
No sticker shock.
82?
so I think.
But that's before you put a shovel in the ground. So there's always an owner's side contingency, and you got that in the bonding amount at $2 million, right?
Yes.
It's a funny bid number. It's like some lottery pick or something.
Yeah, it's all in line item.
If
Yeah,
you
I
saw
know.
the bid, the unit cost items are, per manhole, per watertight manhole, per,
Yeah.
and there's some specialty things that we're doing too.
Cool.
Repair liners that have to go in before we do the full lining on one section.
Well, that's honestly,
Good.
let's just pause there for a second. Again, I know it's the other agenda item, but the idea that they estimated something 2 years ago that
Yeah.
has gone through the inflation,
Yep.
especially in the construction industry that we've seen over the last 2 years, and we came in on budget with projections, should be touted.
They do a great job.
Yeah,
They do a great job.
Magic 8-ball.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I had one that was in exactly the opposite direction from that. Like an egg on our face.
It happens.
I did throw in phase 3 in there with preliminary estimate of construction engineering, and of course, I have to give you the news, I have to give you the full picture, right? So our additional bonding request is gonna be somewhere, if you do the subtraction of 1.5 million, I'm thinking about using the 2 so that I can do the next phase of the I&I study
Mhm.
included also. That's the thought process.
Yeah,
All right.
I think I saw that. I thought it all made sense.
CMOM, it's our video and cleaning, that's what I call it anyway, but it entails so much more. Projection for, and actually these numbers may come down because the bid that we got for phase 2 construction, the camera work may be less. And Arcadis, of course, does the coordination. They take those videos, they go through them,
Yeah.
and then they bring it to our attention if there's something we need to go after immediately. And then they archive these so that we can go back and use them for design purposes later. We don't have to go back out there and redo it again.
We're rolling now.
It's nice to see the results.
Okay, so let's jump back to page 1 of 6.
Ooh,
And this will relate to our,
good.
so
Public
we're
hearing.
still on number 5. And we're going to talk about the numbers on page 1 of 6 for a second. So if you recall, what we try to do when we notice the public hearing is we like to notice the public hearing with a, we may revise rates up to
From what,
number,
something to.
right? Which doesn't mean that that has to be our final decision, but our final decision should be at that number or lower. For the action we're going to take under the next agenda item, let's hear thoughts about where we think rate increases
Well,
ought to be based on our discussion.
I'm gonna go to my comfort zone, and I've pulled up what projected inflation will be 3.9% this year. We don't have that number on here, but up to that would make me feel comfortable, because that's what I've said every
That's
single year.
huge. Okay, that's beyond his chart.
That is beyond.
It is beyond his chart, but that's what I've said every year, that these are projects and things and people that cost, the increases are exactly what inflation is.
But he's, I mean,
I know we have a budget where it adds to the reserve fund, and if God's in his heaven and
And
nothing
he's-
bad happens.
and he's added increases
I know,
in that budget.
I know that.
Okay. Any other thoughts on,
I like keeping it under $7, but I would go to $6.99.
So
I
that,
think that's psychologically, it's, if you went to $6.99 this year, then next year you have to go up, you know.
so your increase would be about 1.5%, maybe a little bit more.
I'm just more looking at, I'm actually looking more at how much we don't have to take out of the reserve.
Well, that would add 50 grand.
That would add 50 grand to the reserve, which I think is more than we added last year, if I'm correct.
that was a higher projection.
Yeah,
I think last year was in the 30s or something was our
Yeah.
projection.
And it went up.
But we ended up putting 125 in.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't like this graph. I don't like seeing it go down so low.
Hmm?
That concerns me. I would prefer, you have to be fiscally responsible and put the money in before you want it, before you need it.
The only thing there is, I think historically, on that chart, we were high.
Which this
So
chart,
I think looking at that chart isn't a fair representation.
Yeah,
Oh,
when you
okay.
see
To our-
the down,
to
it's.
our situation now.
Was the down a positive correction, right? Or was the down a negative correction?
well,
I know it.
I'm just giving my opinion, you're,
and you guys have been here a lot longer than I have, so you've seen a lot more years
well, but
of
I don't
this,
know as
but-
I was here at the beginning of the high point there either, so, but I'm just saying, I think that right now, if you look at it as we have 50% of the operating, of a year's operating expenses
Yes.
in reserve.
That's a good number. I like that number. 50%.
Well, yeah.
With the backing of the town if there's
if there- you need more.
extraneous situation.
Yeah,
True.
exactly.
So would next year's projection keep up with that 50% or fall behind?
Well, I mean,
We're going up
if we went to
5%.
0.58%, we're adding money to
This
the
is
reserve.
5.4% increase
Oh,
in the
no,
budget.
we're at 2.2 in the reserve accounts and the
But if you're
budget's
keeping,
4.4.
if you're following the ratios, you'd need to follow that increase. The increase would be the same.
So how much will we
Flow
need to, how
Well,
much
we
you
have,
say?
like, we're there now. So
Okay.
then we make the decision next year of where we need to be.
through. You're looking backwards to go forwards. Okay.
So we use that all, that's ours, our entire budget.
No, we're looking forwards on the increase in the budget, and I'm saying in order to have the reserve increase that same amount proportionally, you'd have to have it, more money flow into it.
So,
Should be
left
100
side
grand.
here, where are you guys on the
I could be,
spectrum of rates?
I could second Susan's idea of 6.99.
Well, I like 695.
It's very close. I just said $6.99 because it's like, oh, I don't know, you always are buying stuff and you feel like you're getting a better deal.
You know, the trouble with 699, in my view, it's suspicious.
It's seven,
No.
it's seven, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's either 695 or 7, yeah, or just if it's 7, just say 7.
I mean, a round number does
Show me the money.
look easier on a bill. I would think, really, it does make it, 7 would make it more user-friendly on a bill, if people were to
Well,
actually
that's,
look at it.
yeah.
So in terms
So
of,
you're gonna
in
give me
terms of a
725 next
potential,
year?
in terms of a potential direction for the public notice, it seems like you're the outlier,
Sounds it.
but that
Well
there is
done.
that there is a consensus on, say, up to $7 for the public notice, and we can make the final decision after hearing public
Yeah,
comment.
that's fair.
So, Ed, how'd we do?
Yeah, you're a little low.
Okay.
Little low, where do you think? Because you're the one who
You know,
spends
the-
the money
the-
and follows it very
Did he
closely.
say we're a little low?
Yeah, he said we were low.
So $7.05?
Well, I had a conversation with him earlier, and he intentionally didn't lead the witness, but he has a number in mind.
Oh,
I
good.
He wasn't gonna tell us the number until we.
Well, see, the thing that I look at is our biggest expense is, of course, the payments to the city of Stamford. So I look at their budget and look what they did and what increases they have. So we're running around anywhere between 2 and 4 over the last couple of years, and we've been keeping up with them pretty good. So my thought is, I wouldn't want to be any lower than 2. And as I showed you here, I showed 3.5. I probably wouldn't go higher than 3. So I was in that range, 2 to 3. And I could live with the 2, 2.5, but to put that 1%, I just don't think that's effective. I think
Okay.
it looks good, but it doesn't do what I think we need to do, which is keep a steady look at our revenue stream against what we're really fighting, which is the cost centers of the city of Stamford.
With the hope
Aye, and aye.
that we correct that. So, to give our superintendent a little more peace of mind, should we revise our consensus to 702 to get him up to at least 2%?
Or 7.05, because we don't know how we're going to come out at the end of the day.
I like
And-
705.
Yeah, so let's do 7.05, because this is just what we're publishing, up
Yes,
to
and we can-
7.05.
We can sharpen
I mean,
our pencils in September.
We can do up to 7.12. I mean, it's just a matter of what we
I
come
mean-
down at the end of the day.
What,
It's only 17 cents. if you
Yes,
will,
I know,
that's
it's,
per CCF?
Yeah, well.
I mean, it's, look.
We're arguing over 75,000 or 100,000.
Well, it's-
It
Total
matters.
revenue.
It matters.
tell people to use less
matters.
water, too.
It matters. To me, it matters. Those bills are high.
I get that, Craig. Like, we're in the same camp.
I mean, if you want to
Right.
extrapolate it that way, you could use the average usage and see what the average bill goes up.
It would be.
Which we've done. So, what information, like, if the increase in the cost of the Water Pollution Control Authority's budget is a primary concern affecting your outlook, is there any more information we're gonna have in the next 4 weeks that helps crystallize that a little bit?
I will do my best to get you something that you can see.
Why don't we
I'll
just
give you
do
the budgets over the last, their projected and expenditures over the last 5 years, and see where that played in.
Why don't we do the 699 to 709? It's on the chart. I know 709 is not, 699 is your number. Why don't we just publish that and haggle it over a month from now?
Well, you want to go from 0 to what?
Yeah, up to, it's gonna be an up to.
Up to 3%
rate.
increase would be 709.
That's 3.05, but okay.
Yeah, but still.
That's very
you know what I'm
close,
saying.
3% increase.
I
I like
look, I mean,
that. I can.
It doesn't matter to me what we advertise for.
It should.
I think that's too much. I'm gonna continue, I mean, I like where we were heading up at 7, but,
Well, clearly, that's what's
You
in
pulled it
favor. It's
down.
just the published number, Craig. It's not like I'm gonna
And
go
honestly,
buy-
the higher the better, because if anyone is gonna,
challenge us that we're not fiscally responsible
or
or having enough
wanna,
revenue.
or it.
They'll be happy that it came
Yeah.
down from what the
Yeah,
published
or
number
they,
was.
or they wanna just, you know, it instigates them to make a comment.
Yeah. It's a good debate, dude. I know where you're coming from. I agree with it in philosophy completely, that people should be the most efficient, most cost effective for people. that-
So are we gonna advertise?
Up to 709, I guess.
709.
I'll make a motion that we advertise up to 709 and
I'll second that.
3.05% increase.
All those in favor?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we had 1 at Bob, 2 at Susan, unanimous.
Well,
Otherwise, I think we could keep
I can
going.
be swayed easily by the director, because he is the one who knows the numbers the
Well, but if
best.
he's saying the primary driver is between 2 and 4%, then that's a
That, the
good.
3% is way more than we
The
need.
director doesn't pay a sewer user fee in the town of
You
Darien.
might still think.
He pays it in Stanford.
So, forget about it.
All right, good discussion. Item number 6, so we have to schedule a public hearing for September 5th if we want to increase the rates. In addition to increasing the rates, we had previously discussed about adjusting the residential connection fee up from $500 a dwelling unit to $750 a bedroom. We also have discussed and documented our desire to make it clear that third-party peer review costs would be on sewer permit applicant, not on the sewer commission. So those are 3 things that are going to get addressed in our regulations. Is that here?
Did you give him a copy? I did. Oh, yeah, he gave you a copy of the connection? Connection
Yeah,
fee one?
We could look this over later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in with the.
This is the old one.
Yeah. Is this the old one?
Yes.
Okay.
That was the final one that was approved in 2021.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one from June 1st of 2020.
So we have to write the words, I mean, writing the words for 1 is easy because it just affects the first couple of rows, but we have to write actually, writing the words for 1 and 2 are easy. How do we write the words for number 3? And where does that live in our regulations?
I think this is the regulation.
Oh, it is, this is adjusted.
No, the peer
Peer
review
review.
backtrack.
I'm sorry.
Why don't we
You're
just
talking
find
about
out,
the connection fee.
let's just find out what planning and zoning has in their regulations. It's
Yeah.
already approved by council and we'll just adopt it. Whatever's.
Do you understand
third-
my,
It's for third-party peer
What
review.
is it?
Yeah.
Whatever enabling language is in planning and zoning's regulations, we could just get it and throw it in there because it's already approved by Wayne.
yeah, what are, my
Just
point is,
let's-
what language are we voting to institute potentially
For the public hearing.
for the public?
So let's get planning and zoning's
Okay.
language, right?
And where would it live in our regulations?
Or just circulate, I mean, just take a look at it, maybe it doesn't
Yeah, maybe it doesn't apply. maybe it
translate
does.
exactly.
And our only requirement on the 5th is to hold the public hearing. We're not compelled to decide that night.
Or
We
vote.
just have to decide early enough.
Decide that you want to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. This public hearing, we just let everybody come in and tell us their point of view.
All right, question on the service upgrades. When there was a possibility of the Selleck's Woods one, I can't, I'm losing my mind here.
Fairmead?
Parkland?
Parkland.
Oh, yeah.
The office building there, changing from an office building to apartments. We were behind the curve with the water upgrade, as in the water upgrade was less than what it would have been for each dwelling unit. Now it's gonna be even further behind. Are we still comfortable with these connection fee upgrades and the price associated with them?
My recollection was staff's determination was that it was a residential project, not a commercial project. and therefore the connection fees were to be calculated on the number of dwelling units, which at the time, 2 bedrooms or less, they were all 2 bedrooms or less. At the time, it was 60 units, and that 60 units times $500 generated a $30,000 connection fee. If we make this change to $750 per bedroom, that is going to increase the connection fee because they haven't come and asked for the connection yet.
But I recall the engineer from a company that shall remain nameless said that he did a
I don't recall.
recalculation and said that the upgrade, the connection upgrade fee was less than what the
Yes.
per dwelling. And
That's
the
correct.
argument was made by him that that was the price that they should pay, not the per dwelling.
And
I don't
staff
remember.
said, well, anyway.
Okay,
I remember
I don't-
that, and
I
I
don't
remember staff
I'm
saying,
sorry, I don't
that's
remember
nice and
that."
everything, but this is a residential project, not a non-residential project.
Okay, but how is an apartment building is a non-residential?
Is it?
No,
I mean,
it
is a
It is
residential-
a residential project.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not non-residential.
Yeah.
People
There
live there.
was,
Well, it
the
might
commission
be.
did
I
discuss
thought it would be considered
the
commercial.
possibility
If
that.
it goes bankrupt
if
and
it
nobody
was
moves in.
owned, would it be a business? You have had that
Yeah,
discussion.
Yeah. It would be owned by a commercial entity, you know, highly likely that it would be owned by a commercial for-profit entity.
But that doesn't make it a commercial project, does it?
No, it's still
No, I mean, it's
residential.
residential building code.
No.
Yeah.
Okay,
The
I,
use.
all right, I wasn't aware of that, all right. So you're saying that this would never apply to apartment buildings?
Well,
Or tax, or what are called,
I think-
referred to as taxpayers?
so I think that where that breaks down, is where the discussion to have, is mixed use, right? So we have
That's
a lot of
good.
examples of apartments above, commercial below.
That's what the fire department refers to as taxpayer.
And you can't, and it's gonna have a meter, right? And we can't discern which
How
water's
they
going here, which
sub-meter.
water's going there, and sub-meter, or require them to sub-meter. So I think mixed use would be viewed on the non-residential domestic water service size.
So then we
Whereas-
might need to look at this.
Well, wait a minute, what if your residential use was 80% of the project and the commercial use, because you've got all these floors of apartments, and you've only got one floor of the commercial use, which is using very little water, now you got 3 floors of
I would say the other
residential.
way around.
Well,
Restaurants,
depends
like,
on the
for
use,
example,
yeah.
restaurants generate a boatload of water, and if you just look at the amount that our commercial users use and the number of accounts versus the amount that our residential use, the number of accounts, commercial uses more water,
How about laundromat?
hands down.
So that's the basis.
And look,
Yes, it's
and the
commercial.
amount of water that's used is
Is what
gonna.
they're paying
It's
for.
the size of the pipe that goes into the building, and they're gonna pay for that.
Mhm.
And, you know, these are not small numbers.
Mhm. I don't know, to me, it depends on what your commercial use is gonna be.
I
You don't know that when you
Look,
go
But you
I-
don't know, but that's what I'm saying.
They
Some
could-
of your commercial
But-
uses
but-
could
okay,
use no
but
water.
Just, and I can't remember, so I'll ask the question. If you have a mixed-use building that has, just to keep numbers easy, 20 apartment buildings and they upgrade, you know, and they have 5 stores down the bottom, and they upgrade from, by 1 inch, they're gonna get caught, they're gonna get charged $6,600?
No, well, so if they go from a 2-inch service to a 3-inch service, they're gonna pay $14,000.
Okay,
Right? If
But
they
they
go
would-
from, if they go from a
Yes.
3-inch service to a 4-inch service, they're gonna pay $34,000.
okay.
But you're also guessing that it only needs another inch,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna go from 2 to 4. Look, when we established these domestic water service tap sizes, I think we ended up using Norwalk.
A lot of different.
We thought they were big. Between now and September, I don't wanna open this whole chart up. I thought we were doing something very simple and saying, you know, we're probably charging too little on the residential side, and we should adjust that.
I'm just asking the question. I'm not saying we need to delve into
Yeah,
it. I just
yeah.
want to
I don't
make sure
think there's
that.
anything perfect to capture the end use of the building
Yeah.
once it's up and running.
Mhm.
And it could change, like, one of the reasons we're having the capacity analysis is, what if you had I don't know, a clothing store that suddenly
Yeah.
became a laundromat?
Yeah.
But the
Maybe
question,
Right.
but
That's
Or
what we're
restaurant.
after.
the other question I can't remember is the greater or the lesser?
I think it's the triggering event for the capacity was.
No,
39.
is it the greater, would it be the 20 apartments or the
Or-
increased size of the, and I can't remember.
The greater of the two, yeah, I can't.
If it was the greater, then I would have no issue with what's there. If
Yeah.
it's the lesser, then I might.
Properties that are
Either or.
reconnected to the sanitary sewer subject to an intensification of use shall pay the difference in tabulated
that's the
connection
net,
fees
yeah.
between the current or prior use and the proposed use.
Like if you knocked down a 3-bedroom house and made a 5, you'd
Yeah,
pay the
you
2,
pay
the plus 2.
Yeah, and, so all residential, it's easy, all commercial, it's easy. You're saying, is there a gray area in the middle with mixed use? But we also say connections for properties or buildings containing mixed use. Mixed uses shall be determined by the size of the domestic water services.
So that there's a.
And is that how they do it in Stamford and Norwalk as well?
That's how they do it in Norwalk, yeah.
Okay.
This was complicated, I mean.
Yeah, no, it does sound
cracking up.
complicated, but it's to be consistent with other towns.
We're only
Makes a
trying,
lot of
we're
sense.
trying for fairness, but there may be some fish that get through the net. And
But that can go both ways.
There's no way to be perfectly fair.
Yeah. But that can go both ways.
I think the
right?
thing that needed to be corrected was up here. I haven't seen
apartments.
any proof
The
that
bedrooms.
this needs to be.
Yeah, I would agree
Okay.
with that.
I just think it's always nice for me to get the refresher.
No, sure.
We're only looking to change the first 2 lines.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
From,
Tweak.
I'm sorry,
We just,
So basically, the first 2 lines can turn into 1 line, which is the connection fee for residential dwelling units shall be on the number of each bedroom. And that connection fee shall be $750 per bedroom.
For the net increase.
so that just
So can I,
Oversight.
cuts it across.
would it be inappropriate to ask for a case study of what Heights Road would have been and what it actually, what it would have been if you were charging apartments as opposed to what it is by assessing the increased
Size of the.
main fees, main sizes?
I bet it'll be pretty close.
I can give you that. I'll bring it to the next meeting.
Okay. I mean, is that a reasonable,
It's easy to do.
okay. I just don't know what their mains, the mains were, because it was probably a
I do.
conglomeration.
Are those sized for fire suppression? As
So
well.
this very clearly says domestic water use.
Oh, yeah.
So usually you'll have a tap off between the sprinkler system and the domestic water use
Okay.
before it gets into the building.
Yeah.
So your tap in the street might be an 8-inch because it's also doing the sprinkler system,
Yep.
but then it
I
forks
wasn't, I
off
wasn't
before it
sure
goes
whether
into the
they were
building.
dry then wet, or how they worked, or Halon, or how,
That's a
whatever.
good question.
so.
You know, we had that discussion when we were doing, I remember that part of the discussion, because that isn't fair
Yeah.
for them to pay for that.
Yeah.
Because that's not gonna get down the storm drain.
So this table 9, we're condensing the first 2 lines to say dwelling unit. Not 3 or more, or 2 or less,
Dwelling units.
dwelling units.
And then really you could just say connection fee, $750 per bedroom.
Okay.
Net
Okay.
increase.
Right, that's it.
That's-
750?
Yeah.
750. 750, got it. 750. Got it.
Maybe that'll,
And then we know what the rate language is, and the last question under item 6 is 6.3, which is, what is the language we're proposing to add to codify
back check.
the transfer of costs to the third-party peer review?
Got it. Okay.
There may be a statute on that, you could just insert it.
Well, that'd be your idea, ask Jeremy,
Yeah.
I'm sure he could give
It's
us
already
some.
vetted.
There was a statute.
Yeah. You may cite the statute.
That was what
Look all-
we learned from, what's
We ready to go on to 7?
Ira Bloom.
Sure. So, thank you, Penny, if you're still listening.
Ah.
As always,
As always, for your.
because we're so
summary of our-
exciting and,
Summary of our appeals.
I love this. I love this job.
all right, I did a Bob Hill here, and I netted out the ones that went down the drain and the ones that
I did too. I did the same thing.
What'd you come up with?
I did, I
Bob,
was
did
just
that-
doing it
did you
here.
do it?
It's very
I
close.
did not.
Wow, you're
I've got,
contagious,
I've got
Bob.
$10,500.24 that went down the drain.
How much?
We forgave.
Yeah.
10 grand, 10,500.
So
Out
of
of-
the 25 grand we
Yeah,
granted, 10 grand of that actually went down the drain.
10,500-ish, yeah.
Right, because some of them they weren't
No.
having sewer service, so it was,
Main leak, a pool leak, I mean, none of those were of,
Yeah, look, I think
Yeah.
the great thing in here that I got out of it was that, there's nothing really consistent to react to here. in terms of changing policy or regulation. I mean, it's
Agree,
all-
I agree.
Well, there's nothing consistent to react to except for the 138 Heights Road. They got undercharged by $27,000 unless I'm missing it.
Yep.
So I think we need to take some action there. I think that's far too much to allow to just,
Which one was this?
the bottom one.
Oh, Vaquero, up at the top.
Is it? No, no.
No.
Oh, it's
It's
346 Heights
FR
Road?
Realty.
It's Fidelity.
Oh, 138
Whatever.
Heights Road, okay.
Yeah,
Did I miss that one?
we do need your approval to send them something.
I mean, I thought commercial
To
was
make that
billed by actual, so
I was
I
just
don't
looking where it
see
said
any-
no
I
charge.
don't
Is
see
that
any.
an agenda item?
FR Realty, I must have missed that. Was that?
It was not.
Should have
an agenda
said
item.
discussion and action, but I may have forgotten to written it right there.
Oh, okay, and I would have to recuse myself in that one, so let me know when you guys want to talk
I
about that.
didn't pick up anything where it said not connected. So
Well,
I didn't
guess
pick up that one.
Right now, we're
Yeah, I
having a
see it
general
now.
discussion
Okay.
about,
You could make it a part of the table itself, as in, should we go and make a recommendation on specific ones after a certain level, that we need to go back and get some money from?
Oh, that's a look back based on use.
So this is why
doesn't
you're
get
looking at the
captured.
table right now.
Yeah, got
Next,
it.
I mean, next meeting could be a discussion on it. Look, we need information on
Well, we
number one,
talked,
number two, number
we
10,
talked
whatever it
about
may be.
that, like, we give an estimated, and then they can come in and level it later. You know,
Well, that's how we started. That's why
Yeah.
federal was so low. We had to do an estimate.
right, right.
And in that time, they opened up the places,
And
they opened up restaurants.
actual use.
And they actually used more. And I don't think it's unfair to go back and ask them to pay what they did use.
I agree, because
I
we've
really-
given people
if you
appeals
guys would
when
like
they,
to discuss that now, I'm happy to recuse
Yeah,
myself
yeah,
and
it's
give
cool.
the gavel.
It's not on the
versus
agenda to discuss that particular one. We're here to discuss the table, and
Okay.
it's up to you folks. If you want to make that an item next month, we will,
Okay.
specifically.
Would you guys like to discuss that next month?
Absolutely.
yeah, let's push it on.
There you go.
Any
Yeah.
other ones that you want to include in that discussion?
I'm looking.
I just, like, briefly going through them all, I think everybody that came in, there were unique situations. I think the numbers are relatively small for what they are of water we actually paid to treat. I think it's working pretty well, and giving people that ability to come in here and have a voice and for
Right, I didn't count anything that was,
I
it said
did.
NC.
I did it quickly, too. So
I did
may
very
be- I
quickly,
may be
too.
wrong.
But I was pleased with, when I
Yeah.
did it, I said, okay, it's not really 22,000,
Yeah.
it's much
So
less.
We made little changes to from the table from last year. We put in the table or the column letters so you could see where we were subtracting, but the important one is column I. And anything that's in a parentheses is where we saw our shortfall.
Got it.
What was actually paid, between what was actually used.
Oh, you did it.
All right, so we'll have that on the agenda for.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, where leaks
Next month.
corrected is, you put the where leaks corrected column
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
that, that's what I worked off of.
in. Yeah.
And then when I saw if the leak was a irrigation not turned off in time, it's outside, so it doesn't,
Yeah,
the sewer, it wasn't like we were sending the water
Right.
to
Yeah.
Stanford.
Yeah, I may be wrong, too. And I did reason for appeal, and I looked at G, and just sort of quickly
Yeah,
went
No,
well,
I
mean,
looked
it
at
looks
the
like
shorthand.
The only issue is one,
Irrigation.
I have
leak
one
is
other
outside.
one
Water line
For
failures.
consideration. 15 Corbin, because it was not connected.
Yeah.
Was a hard estimate.
Yeah, yeah.
This was actual use. I think, to be fair, if we're gonna look at one developer, we should have looked at others.
Yeah.
In the green, the ones that are green anyway.
Mhm.
I'd like to have you consider that one.
Okay, 15 Corbin and 138 Heights.
so you'll make this a little more clear in the next agenda in terms
Yeah.
of what
Well, I think
discussion you're asking
I,
about.
yeah, if we
I
could,
think I'm gonna identify just the two properties up
Yeah.
and open and just have those two on the table. The
Now, is
other
that
one won't be there.
a new policy that we're going to go back?
it becomes a conundrum. We're always, the people that come in here and they bought a house, and last year there were 5 kids and they have 0, we've given them relief, because they're being charged as if they still had that same use from last year. But when you have a 0 database, like a brand-new project, How do
Yeah,
you
these big
project?
projects, yeah.
You could use not the standards, like they do for capacity analysis.
Well,
Estimated.
it's also too,
Estimate.
like, what goes online, what gets occupied.
Yeah, and when,
what are users,
and how many
uses,
days
and
in-
You can't predict in the future. But, the corollary on the residential one is, so you have the people coming in with 0
Yeah.
kids that took over the house
Yeah.
for 4 kids. Well,
They get a deal.
are
Right.
we ever sending bills out to people
No,
that have 4 kids?
they're making
who
up.
Bought a house with 0 kids?
It's,
you know?
it's a flaw in the system of looking backwards to
Yeah.
project forwards. And I don't know how we do that, but with the large scale projects, I always thought one way would be, we put whatever we would use in a capacity analysis, put the yearly number of days and come up with a number, and if a year later they use less water, they could come in and get the difference. If we needed a way to analyze that. That
I
was only-
don't disagree, that'd be a good stepping off point for that first year, but what we have now are actual numbers. And these are people that came in and actually asked for an appeal.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
And this was the part where you came in and asked, and you folks were fair, and I think you
Yeah.
use that word a lot, and I think you represent that word a lot. This is a fair look back to where we have an actual number, and it's significant.
Would
And
we-
To the ratepayers, I think we deserve to go back for some of this.
Should we add that then to our policies somewhere embedded in language that
I
has?
think we should.
For new developments, we
That's a good
reserve
point.
the right to do, hey, here's your bill. You had an extra cocktail, put it on the bill. And if you feel like you've been cheated, come in and talk to us and make it, do we need to put that somewhere in the regs?
There's a section for appeals.
The appeals are all set.
Yeah.
What's that?
Appeals are straightforward.
There should
Question
be,
is there
maybe
a-
The commission can
Because
appeal.
Part of it should
look,
be-
someone could argue, this is what your regs say,
Yeah.
this is how you're supposed to charge, this is how you charge.
And I'm getting picked on.
And
Yeah.
you're coming after 2 or 3 people saying, well, actually, you use a lot more than we set the rate for. And, I would point to the regs. and say,
Yeah.
What are your regs?
That's why I'm saying, if we want to do this, we need to change the regs. We need to add
But
that somewhere.
these people came and asked for a reduction. Should we be telling them, no, you're not going to get a reduction now, we're going to wait and see if you deserve that reduction?
Did everybody on that list ask for a
Anybody
reduction?
not connected and the leaks. That's why they're on this list.
Okay.
Right? So that's a little different.
It
These
it
people
becomes
came to
very
us to begin with.
complicated, though. It does. Our system has flaws in how we bill.
But maybe that's, in the appeals process, that's what we write. Should it be a new project where we want to be fair, but we just don't
I
have the
mean, you
data?
can come into the Board of Assessment Appeals for a tax appeal, and they can raise your taxes. The BAA has that ability.
Okay.
But
That's
could
why
we
people
just
appeal.
change this by saying that projects above a certain level get billed out, new projects at a certain level get billed out monthly from Origin or from,
Actual use.
Yeah, we
From
haven't actually
whenever-
that much.
That's a lot of work, though, isn't it?
it's
For-
not that many, I mean, but it's big money. I mean.
It is big money, and I think the fact.
I'm sorry, if it's extra work, there is a reward to the effort.
Well, when they first built the sewer, how'd they bill?
What I would say is this,
Day one, goes active.
I mean,
Oh,
I
who
don't
knows?
think-
But you're sort of asking that question.
look, I think these are all good conversations to have. We're not gonna resolve it in time for the public hearing in 4 weeks, to change regs based on the discussion.
I
now.
agree.
But it should be discussed, and you guys should have a fulsome conversation with the data before you, at the next meeting.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to note that the two that we're most interested in are commercial projects.
Large scale, yeah. They're gonna just see the most deviation there.
Yeah.
I mean, is
Clear.
the other people were.
A
you know,
subdivision might have the same problem.
Oh, you know,
Probably not, though.
But if
Well,
you,
anytime you finish a house, right, like,
Yeah, there's
finish
a
a
lag.
house, there's a lag, so you finish the house and
but
you did
also.
it in August and sold it in September, and then there was 10 months worth of use.
Yeah.
We've never gone back on
I
any
know,
of those.
I know.
But
And
also,
said,
was the $15,000 that Federated Realty was billed how was that decided? I mean, if you're going by the 150 gallons per bedroom per day, it would probably be far past the
The
$15,000.
property always had active
Use,
taps.
yeah, how to use.
So,
They're, Yeah.
Stop and Shop.
Yeah, Equinox and Citibank never
Yeah.
went down.
Oh, right.
It also includes the Chase Bank.
Yep.
That never went down.
I think in the instance where they've come in and asked for a huge amount of money back, and then we've given them the money back, and then they go way over by almost $30,000, that they need to come and
I don't,
make the town good for that.
Well, we could think about it later, because
Yeah.
it's clearly not gonna be on the public hearing, because it's gotta be written right.
It'll be part
Yes,
of
it
the
does have to
agenda
be
for-
written right. We won't get it written in time.
I don't recall them coming in and asking for a reduction in their bill. This was a bill that you guys came up with, or am I
It doesn't
incorrect?
say there
I
was a
can't answer
granted.
Oh,
doesn't
it was
say there
combined?
granted.
Okay, so
We
they
didn't
just combined the
grant this
invoice.
appeal. They generated a projected bill, and the actual usage is
Higher than.
almost 3 times what the projected bill was.
Whoops.
Ah,
See, under column F where it says granted sewer charges 2022, something was granted. That's why it's in that column.
yeah.
It says the date of appeal was
I
4/1.
don't recall them coming in and speaking before.
Well, it was just in April, so we
April
can look
Fool's
back
Day.
and look at the meeting for April and see what happened.
It's April Fool's Day, we have a meeting April Fool's Day.
Did we have a meeting on April Fool's Day?
I don't think
I guess
so. We
we-
would have played pranks and stuff on each other if that was the case. I thought it was the 5th we had a meeting, April. No, it wasn't.
I can look back and see when it
That would have been
Or
April 4th.
sixth.
It was the 4th. So the 1st was a Saturday. Maybe you do something on the 1st because it's
First of the
the
month.
1st of the month?
Who knows? Anyway,
Well,
Okay.
you can look at the
Just-
other commercials, the
we're
Baywatch.
gonna get hungry here if we don't move it along.
I am hungry.
Are you?
Okay.
I'm
All right.
supposed to get some stuff for dinner on my way home.
Oh.
All
All
right.
right, let's move.
Yeah,
McDonald's
My
again.
family is starving.
Okay, but I think that's a good conversation.
All right.
Starving kids.
Item number 8,
Oh.
superintendent's report.
Now we're getting charged with child abuse. Okay.
Okay. I think we did our little review on A already.
We did.
Closer to eating as we speak. Woodway, I think there's an easement
Oh, wow.
document in the back, 8B, page
Well
1 and
done.
2.
You guys did a lot here. Just
Darren, you want to?
Yeah, that's the owner of the Woodway Properties attempt, based on the example we gave him. And I don't recall, but I think you guys gave us permission to go to town council last meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll take that and go to town council. Okay.
Okay,
Great.
we covered C.
Covered C.
Yeah.
246 Norotan. At our last meeting, I did tell you folks that we were going to put a letter and the documents in with the lateral file, which we did.
Okay.
At which time, within a couple days, or I'd say maybe a week later, Tony got a message or a notice that there'd be a plumber coming in to pull a permit, yet we still have not seen them, so.
Don't worry.
That's my update on that one. The documents have already been tucked away with the lateral file, so if they do come in, as I said, if everything's done correctly, we do the inspections, they pull a permit, we'll update that information. And then finally, Stony Brook Pump Station, we got a couple higher prices than I thought we would want to pay for some of the work, so we're still doing the window wells, but the stuff around the transformer, we're going to get a couple different prices. I didn't like the one I got, so. we'll
Was
see if
it
we get a couple different
poured
ones.
concrete? What do you want to
It
do?
was poured. It was poured, so no more messing around with blocks.
Yep.
So
Doweling and rebar to the existing concrete.
that's around the window wells? Yeah, in the building.
Epoxy or just grout?
So, and that's all I have on that right now.
Please proceed. Any questions for the superintendent before we conclude the superintendent's report?
Thank you.
All right, item number 9, any new business?
Whoa.
Item number 10,
I would make a motion.
I'll second it.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, Channel 79, the meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
You really think I'm gonna pull you?